Okay, we'll start now. What I'm going to do today is there are two important philosophers in Western philosophy, uh, Quine and Strawson. So basically, what happens usually? Students starts with the Plato, Aristotle, then rationalists, and then empiricists, then Kant, Hegel, and till the time they reach to last, because these are, in syllabus, if you see, these two philosophers, Quine and Strawson, are last, named philosophers, 20th century philosophers, basically. So till the time they reach to these philosophers, usually they find, they think that they have already completed the syllabus, and therefore they need not go through these philosophers, and then also it's okay. But he sometimes, usually one question comes from these philosophers. Sometimes, suppose there are three parts of the question, one part will be from them, or suppose five parts in first question, then there will be one part or two parts. So usually your question, 30% question is spoiled because of non-preparation of these philosophers. And I can tell you, these are the one of the easiest philosophers to prepare. So if you prepare them, and even though you don't devote much time on them, but still if you prepare them, uh, perhaps you can attempt the full question of Western philosophy in a very balanced and nice manner. So today what I'm going to take up is, today I will take up uh, WVO Queen, and then there are some repeated questions from Queen, which I will be taking up in the next class. Then next class we will take up Strawson. So in perhaps 2 or 3 classes, we will try to complete these uh, uh, philosophers. So today we are going to understand basically the basics, or what is the basic philosophy of you can uh, say WVO Queen. See, if you see uh, him, he was an American philosopher, uh, but he was one of the, very important philosophers of 20th century. If you see his uh, time period, 1908 to 2000, so almost about 92 years he lived, and almost full 20th century he was there. He was one of the most important philosophers after Wittgenstein, because Wittgenstein is considered the most important philosopher in 20th century. Uh, Now, what are, significant? Because see, this Queen here, I am going to deal in a very, very simplified and simple manner. However, I will try to be as exhaustive as possible also. So, even though we will be simple or simplified presentation, but still, we will be trying to cover most of the critical points which he has enunciated. So, what he believed in. First point from him was, philosophy and science are not totally different. Second point was, they differ only in degree, not in nature. So these are the basically two points which he believed. And he says that science studies specific facts, philosophy studies general principles. But both are based on experience. So that was his basically concept. Now let us see how he developed his concept. See, Quine combined three ideas. What are three ideas? Empiricism. Empiricism, knowledge comes from experience. This is empiricism. And the prominent are Locke, Berkeley, and Hume. Prominent philosophers of empiricism are Locke, Berkeley, and Hume. Then second, he combined naturalism, that is philosophy should follow science. And third, pragmatism, that is theory should be useful and workable. So empiricism, naturalism, and pragmatism. all three ideas he tried to link in his philosophy. And his philosophy is called radical empiricism or naturalized empiricism. Now, important works, he has two important works. First is from a logical point of view in 1953, and second is work and object. And his most important essay, which repeatedly from which the questions are asked, are two dogmas of empiricism. So this is one of the most important essays from which usually the questions are asked. If you see the questions also, they will write what Quine has described and how he has described in his essay Two Dogmas of Empiricism. Now, usually, critics say that Quine has rejected empiricism. But had he really done? Our analysis says no. Quine did not reject empiricism completely. He rejected some old ideas of empiricism, but he strengthened empiricism in a new way. So he can be called as radical empiricist rather than anti-empiricist. Now, we'll see two dogmas of empiricism, as I already told. In 1951, he wrote. This is his famous essay. And in this essay, Quine attacked two main beliefs of empiricism. What are two main beliefs of empiricism? One, empiricists say that there is analytic and synthetic. There is two different knowledge or sources of knowledge. Analytic and synthetic sources of knowledge are different. There is a distinction between the two. And second, which he opposed, reductionism. This is again empiricist theory. So this also he rejected. He said, Quine said that these both the theories are wrong. Now in detail, we'll try to see what are both the theories and how he tried to oppose them or modify them or criticize them. First, let us go analytic and synthetic distinction. Now, what is analytic and synthetic distinction? See, if we go to the history, before Quine, before 20th century, now there are number of thinkers, right from rationalists to empiricists, and they have distinguished between analytic and synthetic. For example, Leibniz says that there are truths of reason and truths of fact. So what is analytic? Truth of reason is analytic and truth of fact is synthetic. Similarly, Hume says the relations of ideas and matters of fact. Matters of fact reflect to synthetic and relations of ideas again analytic. Kant again analytic judgments and synthetic judgments. Similarly, logical positivists Carnap, Ayer and Schlick also differentiated. Now, all these philosophers, what was their views? Analytic statements are true by meaning itself. There is no need of any experience. For example, if you take the example, all bachelors are unmarried. So this sentence itself is complete in its meaning. No experience is required to validate this sentence or truth of this sentence. Now, synthetic statements, if you see, which are true by facts, that is, they are based on experience. For example, there is sunshine outside or it's raining outside. So somebody has to see whether it is raining or sunshine. So this basically is based on experience. So earlier philosophers, right up to Kant, they differentiated between analytic statements and synthetic statements, or analytic judgment or synthetic judgment, or analytic knowledge or synthetic knowledge. Now, what Quine said, he criticized this. Quine asked a simple question. What was that question? What is the meaning? To explain analytic statements, we use words like synonymy or synonymous, necessity, definition. But these words themselves depend on the idea of analyticity. So what he said, analytic statements for their complete meaning again depend on analytic statements. So explanation becomes circular. Therefore, what Quine concluded, analyticity cannot be clearly defined, because one analytic statement to give complete meaning depends on another analytic statement, and this keeps on going. So this is a circular thing. So what he concluded, no purely analytic or purely synthetic statements are there. According to him, no statement is purely linguistic, no statement is purely factual. Every statement has both language and fact. So, what he said, every statement is analytic as well as synthetic. One cannot differentiate or distinguish between the two. And he came up with a belief of, or web of belief, or holism. So, Quine proposed the theory of holism. What is that theory of holism? Single statements are not tested alone. Whole system of beliefs are tested together. So this is his theory of holism. What idea he gave? Experience tests our beliefs as a whole. So his web of belief theory, logic and mathematics leads to philosophy and theory, which leads to scientific statements, which leads to observation and experience. That is, statements close to experience change easily. Logic and mathematics change slowly, but even logic and mathematics can change. So therefore, there is nothing absolutely analytic. There is no distinction, clear distinction. So whatever is analytic can be sometimes synthetic as well. So that's what his web of belief or theory of holism. So what he came to conclusion, difference between analytic and synthetic truth is only of degree, not of kind. This is his conclusion. Now he came up with again revisability of logic and mathematics. He claimed that even logic and mathematics keeps on revising or can be revised. Traditional empiricists, what they say, logic or even rationalists for that matter, logic and mathematics are always true. They cannot change. This is the view given by the rationalists as well as empiricists. And this is the view given by the philosophers who believed in analytic statements, strictly analytic statements. So here Quine disagreed. He said that even logic and mathematics can change. How? He has given example also. For example, in quantum physics, a number of challenges have come up to classical logic. Then again, law of excluded middle. These are scientific theories and laws. The students who are from science, definitely they can relate it. Again, law of excluded middle is questioned. So, therefore, what Quine concluded, no statement is immune to revision, whether it is logic, whether it is mathematics, whether it is science, whether it is... So, all kinds of, whether it is analytic statements or synthetic statements, all are can be modified or can be revised. So this is one part of his idea which was enunciated in his essay. And now we'll go to second, how he criticized reductionism. Now, what is reductionism? Reductionism means every meaningful statement can be reduced to sense experience. This is the theory of reductionism. Now, he criticized this. He was opposed to this, or he has modified this. How? But before that, earlier view, Hume has given that objects are bundles of sense impressions. Logical positivists have given object is logical construction from sense data. Now, what Quine said, Quine rejected this idea. He said, meaning is not in single words or sentences. Meaning is in the whole theory of language system. Therefore, individual sentences are not verified alone. What happens? Whole scientific theories are verified. And as earlier we have seen, he has given theory of holism. So this is what he called is holism. So according to him, reductionism is false. It's not true. So two theories he have he has come up with: one, analytic and synthetic statements are not totally different. There is only difference of degree. And second, reductionism is false. He has given the theory of holism. Now, what I mean, these two views of Quine, what are the consequences because of this Quine's views? Now, first result happens: collapse of analytic synthetic distinction. So, analyticity cannot be clearly defined. So, analytic and synthetic statements merge, or they are different only in degrees. So, they are not totally different. Then philosophy and science become continuous accordingly. So, according to Quine, metaphysics is equal to generalized science, and philosophy is equal to conceptual analysis of science. So, he says that philosophy is part of science. Now, I mean, what this results in and how it results in ontological commitment. Now, let us see that. See, logical positivists believe, which were, I mean, earlier to Quine, that logic is neutral. Quine disagreed. He says that to be is to be the value of a bound variable. Therefore, our theories force us to accept certain entities. Logic is not neutral. This was Quine's view against logical positivist view. Then next, Quine as empiricist or radical empiricism. What his theories? I mean, how radicalized empiricism? Quine's theory radicalized empiricism. Let us see that. Quine accepted two basic principles, which we have already discussed. One is all knowledge is based on experience. Second, meaning and language are based on sense experience. So, what Quine remains, I mean, because even though Quine believed in these two broad basis of empiricism, that all knowledge is based on experience, meaning and language are based on sense experience, still he modified it, as we have seen. So, Quine remains empiricist, but in a radical way, because he is opposing analytic synthetic statements distinction, and he is opposing reductionism as well. Now, let us see what are the critical points or critical evaluation of Quine's theory. First, again, 20th century philosophers Grice and Strawson, they have argued, I mean, in their article in defense of a dogma, that Quine demands too much clarity. Analytic synthetic distinction is necessary in their view, Grice and Strawson. In fact, Strawson's philosophy will be reading maybe in subsequent classes, because this is also in the syllabus. So that also because he has basically criticized Quine like this. Now he has given example also. A 3-year-old child understands Russell's theory of types. A 3-year-old child is an adult. Both are false, but is factually false, and he is logically impossible. So this is what Strawson and Greece basically came up in defense of a dogma. So what they say, distinction between fact and concept is a real thing. So analytic and synthetic distinction also holds good as per Strawson and Greece. Now another philosopher, Rudolf Carnap, what he said, every statement has two parts. One is linguistic, another is factual. And statements with more linguistic content are analytic. Statements with more factual content are synthetic. So, analytic synthetic distinction is relative and not meaningless. So, this is what Carnap's view. Now, as I have already earlier also told, see, whenever you find some comparative statement or comparative ideas in Indian philosophy, and if you are dealing with Western philosophy chapters, you have to remember or quote, because nowadays there is huge emphasis on comparative philosophy and critical philosophy as far as these UPSC question papers are concerned. So whenever you are reading with Indian philosophy, you have to compare with relevant points in Western philosophy. Whenever you are reading in Western philosophy, you have to compare relevant points in Indian philosophy. So if you see relevant portions or relevant thing from Indian philosophy, so Quine's holism, theory of holism, is similar to something Mimamsa's Partha Pramanivad. Because Partha Pramanivad is again theory of validity given by Mimamsa. That validity is extrinsic, basically. That's what Mimamsa says. Opposite to Swata Pramanivad. So, because why in a way it's similar? Because both reject reduction of knowledge to atomic facts and external verification of every statement. So, therefore, just like holism, Mimamsa also criticizes Partha Pramanivad. Now, both emphasize holistic nature of knowledge. So, in a way, theory of holism is little, I mean, not directly comparable, but yes, to some extent comparable with Mimamsa's critique of Partha Pramanivad. Now, if you want, I mean, just conclusion, again, Quine did not destroy empiricism, he transformed it by rejecting analytic synthetic distinction and reductionism. He basically weakened logical positivism. He blurred the boundary between philosophy and science. He introduced holism, theory of holism, and he created radical or modified empiricism. Now, therefore, Quine is not, I mean, usually questions can be asked whether Quine is an enemy of empiricism or he has rejected empiricism totally. So, but our conclusion is he is radical reformer and his empiricism can be called as a radical empiricism. Now, in earlier years, number of questions have been asked from Quine, and what I have identified is a few questions I have gone through, I mean, about 10 to 12 years papers. So some topics have been repeatedly asked, which we will be taking. But this today, what we have done is his philosophy we have discussed in brief. So next class, we will be taking up those PYQs or PYQ subtopics, you can say. So what are those topics? Let me explain. So repeated PYQs subtopics from Quine. First is Quine's arguments in two dogmas of empiricism. As I told, this is essay he has written in about 1953. And questions have been asked earlier also. What are his arguments in his essay, Two Dogmas of Empiricism? So this we have to study in little more detail. Then again, critique of reductionism. This we have already seen in brief, but then next class we will be going up in little more detail because a question has been asked repeatedly on this topic. Then third is Quine's rejection of analytic and synthetic distinction and his subsequent philosophical arguments. This question has also been asked 2-3 times. So basically these three topics, what we will be doing is we'll be dealing in detail in next class. I hope, I mean, today what we have done is briefly we have gone through the Quine's philosophical ideas. In next class, we will be dealing with these three subtopics which we have already briefly dealt, but in detail we will go critical evaluation of each topic we will take up in next class. Hope my next class and this class will also be quite useful to the students. If you want any, I mean, me to take up any topic, you can send me comments. You can basically send me WhatsApp messages also, so that I will be next classes. I will be including those topics, and I will try to cover up those topics. Usually, my effort will be to cover difficult topics in a very simplified manner, so that if you understand, you can understand and remember. You can definitely be able to recall and write in your practice tests as well as in your actual exam also. And while you prepare also, if you have understood some topic, it will be very easy for you to prepare. So thanks a lot for watching today's class and participating in it. Thank you.